What is up, you guys? Diggerdan here, coming at you with another video, and the top shelf is empty. So you know what that means? That means it's book haul time. So without further ado, let's jump into book haul for May of 2024. So if you've been around my channel for any decent amount of time and you've watched my book hauls, then you know I get a little greedy sometimes, but I justify it because it's all secondhand, and I get a lot of my stuff from library book sales, a lot of times on like their $5 bag days, where it's like you can just fill a big paper bag for like $5, basically whatever you stuff in it. So I add to the ranks of my shelves very quickly that way. So today I have another 22 books. Most of them are used. I do have a couple that are brand new. And yeah, I'm excited to dig into it. So first, I'm actually going to highlight with a cool bookmark that one of the nice librarian ladies gave me at one of the various libraries I stopped at, because I actually have a lot of libraries in my area. So it's like, especially this time of year, where that spring summer transition, they start to have their book sales to help support the library. Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, you spent a lot of money here. It was like $5, I think. She's like, oh yeah, you can get a bookmark. So there's like a stack of bookmarks. A lot of them are just like standard printed, just like library name sales, whatever. And then they had like a couple actual branded ones. So this is a nice Harry Potter one. So I won't collect all 6, but I at least have one. So there you go. So book number 1 is Nightfall, written by Isaac Asimov and Robert Silverberg. And I actually haven't read anything from either author, but I've heard only good things from Asimov. And Silverberg I'm not even aware of until I picked this book up. But Nightfall, this book, is based off of one of Asimov's short stories. Yeah, just called Nightfall. And so that's pretty cool. And aside from that, I know nothing about it. So I think this is a standalone. I'm not sure. I really should know. But yeah, book number 1, Nightfall by Isaac Asimov and Robert Silverberg. Now, book number 2 I got at one of the sales was Orson Scott Card's Shadow Puppets, which I believe is book number 4. I lied. This is book number 6 to the Ender Saga. So that's exciting because I have 1, 2, and 4, and now 6. So I'm missing 3 and missing 5. And I'm slowly collecting them. I plan on reading all of them. On one of my videos, I think for saying what I plan on reading for like series I'm excited to continue in 2024. Ender's Game is one of those because that was one of the standouts I read last year. Was just the first Ender's Game book, and really loved it. And I've heard a lot of mixed things about Orson Scott Card's like later stuff. Like people say he kind of falls off a little bit. But I enjoyed the first one so much. It's like anytime I see him, I'm gonna pick something up. So yeah, book number 2. Now, book number 3 is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. This is book 1 of the Broken Empire. This one I am very excited to get to. 1, because it's book 1, but 2, because it's from Mark Lawrence, and I've heard really only good things about Mark Lawrence's books, and I haven't read a single book. This is the first one I actually own now, so that's exciting. And it's not that crazy long of a book. It's just over 300 pages, so it's not like this 600-page tome of a book 1. So I think that's pretty exciting. And honestly, the cover kind of drew my eyes, even before I realized it was Mark Lawrence. Just the cover, like just look that carnage left behind by this one ominous character really pulled me in. And then I realized it was Mark Lawrence, and I'm sold. So yeah, book number 3 is Prince of Thorns. Now, book number 4 is The Codex by Douglas Preston. Now, this isn't fantasy or sci-fi. I mean, it is fiction. So it is in the speculative fiction, I believe. I don't even know what it's about, if I'm being completely honest. But I have read, my very first review on this channel was Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. So this is from one of that duo. And I really enjoyed that book, and it really surprised me. And so I saw this one, and I believe it's a standalone, where you can just read it. And if it's not, I think it's one of those series where you can read them out of order. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I kind of want to jump back in with Preston. I kind of trust him from that one book that I've read. And the synopsis sounded kind of cool. So yeah, book number 4 is The Codex. Now this might be a little controversial, but book number 5 is J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy. Now I didn't even know she wrote anything outside of Harry Potter, so there's that. But before you raise your torches and pitchforks. I didn't give her any money. This was at a book sale. And I think it was a $5 day, so it's like it was the same amount of money. You can think about this as a free book. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed Harry Potter growing up, and maybe she's a mediocre author in some people's eyes, but I don't know. It's just seeing her name on the cover, honestly, is really what drew me into it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even looked at it, just based off the cover. And it seems like it's a speculative fiction, something, not necessarily, like, it has some magical elements to it, I guess. So maybe I'll get to it. But yeah, book number 5 is J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy. Now, I'm just going to clump these two together because these were at the same book sale, and it's Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers. So Lord of the Rings 1 and 2, and spoiler alert, I did get 3, but that was at a different book sale, so it'll probably be the next one. But it's perfect because they're from the same set. I know a lot of times if they have the movie tie-in, it's kind of ruins the book in my opinion, but something that Bryce from Shelf Centered said, because I think he has these versions as well, is that this is the only movie version where it actually improves the cover, in my opinion, or at least like doesn't degrade the work itself. So yeah, Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and I do have the Lord of the Rings, but it's all one big tome. And so just having the smaller broken up bits just makes it way easier to consume. So again, plus it was bag day, so it's like I spend $5 whether I pick these two up or not. And I feel like when you see Lord of the Rings, you just have to. And this, I'm going to rant a little bit for a second, but this book sale, where these came from, it was weird because the library had us pay the $5 for the bag before we went in, where every other book sale I've been to, you like fill your bag, and if you need more bags, you can get another bag, and then you pay $5 per bag. But this one, it was so freaking chaotic. They're like, no, just pay $5, here's your bag, and just go crazy. So it was like, it was the busiest book sale I've ever been to. It was insane. It was way too many people for what that small room was. There was easily like 70, 80 people in like a 20 by 15 room, maybe. Like, it was not comfortable. But anyway, it was a big score because I got these, so worth it. All right, now book number 8, like I said, just follow up, Lord of the Rings, Part 3, The Return of the King. This was a different book sale. This one, I think, again, was still part of a bag sale day, where it's still $5. But it was a different sale, so this is a different entry. But again, I'm really excited, and this is probably my favorite cover of the 3. Aragorn is probably one of my favorite characters. And just look at that stud. Viggo Mortensen, what a guy. All right, book number 9 is Myth Taken Identity by Robert Aspin and Jody Lynn Nye. I'm sorry, guys, that's kind of a fun name. And I first got really attracted to it because I saw like this little star, and it said a brand new myth. And I thought it said a brand new Xanth from Pierce Anthony. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then I actually read who it was by in the title. I'm like, oh, that's not Pierce Anthony. So I was a little deflated, but then even just looking at it, it still seems really cool. Just the cover itself, like you got all the different species. Like, there's not an actual human on the cover. I mean, yeah, there is in that photo, but it's like there's 4 other creatures, and they like all seem different species. I don't know. It just seems really cool. And then it's kind of like, and then the synopsis kind of reminds me of like a Terry Pratchett book, where it's like humorous, and it's like just the synopsis is like someone lost their identity, and trying to get it back, but the person who stole their identity is like racking up all this debt, and I don't know. So it seems really interesting, and I believe again it's a one-off, so I should be able to just knock this out whenever I feel like it. And it is just under 300 pages, so it's not crazy long or anything like that. So yeah, book number 9 is Myth Taken Identity. So book number 10 is definitely different than any of the other books, and that is Saints, A Year in Faith and Art. And it was funny because like a week or two before I got this one from one of the library sales, I was literally thinking, I'm curious about some of the saints. It's like, how does some of the saints become saints? And it's like, there's so many different saints, and like patron saint of this and patron saint of that. So I was literally thinking, like, I kind of want to get a book on saints. That'd be kind of cool to learn a little bit more about that. And then literally a couple weeks later, one of the book sales, this chonker was sitting there. And it's just such a pretty thing. Like, say what you will about whatever, but it's like, look, Saint Joan of Arc, and it's a photo of one of the amazing portraits. Um, that's just as one instance. Or Saint Ignatius of Loyola, like that. So there's just some really cool art, and it's like the synopsis, and like it's just so cool. Some of the little things. But yeah. Anyway, book number 10, Saints: A Year in Faith and Art. So book number 11 is Cormac McCarthy's The Road. I know honestly nothing about this book aside from that it's very highly praised and that it's Pulitzer Prize winner. And I didn't realize that it's kind of geared towards a younger audience, just based solely on the margins. I could be wrong. But yeah, I've seen good reviews about this. This pops up, I feel like, on my Goodreads recommendation all the time, even though most of my stuff's like sci-fi and fantasy. Yeah, so book number 11. Again, this was one of those bag days. I think that was that crazy one. That was a lot of people. And I saw this. I'm like, sure, why not? Let's get out of here. Now, another one is Maze Runner. This is the Target edition, I guess. Now, this is book 1 of the Maze Runner trilogy, but there's 4 books because there's also a prequel book. And I feel like I've said this before because I've gotten the 3rd copy from Thrift Store Hall a few months ago. And so I own book 1 and book 3. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that when this series was big and the movies came out, I kind of missed that. I feel like I watched like half of the first movie or something like that. So I kind of know sort of what happens. And the synopsis is just really cool, I think. And I just never got around to reading it. So I've always had my eyes peeled. And here it is, book number 1 of Maze Runner. Now, book number 13 is Pigs Don't Fly by Mary Brown. And really what it was that this was in that tiny fantasy section and that it had Bane on the spine. Because the book, or the table that had this, it was literally a tiny little box where there were like maybe 24 books total. A lot of them, like, I kind of just glazed over. I'm like, this isn't for me. This one just seems like the most outlandish, and it's like, pigs don't fly. Okay, you know that saying. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do the whatever when pigs fly because it's an impossibility. But this one, it's literally got pigs with wings, so that really attracted me to it. And I didn't read a synopsis because there's none on the back. Yeah, I know there's probably one on the sleeve. But again, it was that hectic library sale where there was a lot, so I just grabbed it and put it in the bag and just moved on. Yeah, so I know very little about this, but I believe I could just read this as is. So yeah, Pigs Don't Fly by Mary Brown. Now, book 14 is The Layer of Bones by David Farland, and as you can read, it is the 4th book of the Rune Lords. Now, I haven't read any of the Rune Lords yet, but it is on my TBR. I've heard it's highly recommended, and I don't even have the first 3 books, so why did I get the 4th one? Because I intend on reading all of them, right? That's kind of every reader's issue, is they hoard books that they intend on reading, right? So then their TBR gets longer and longer, at least in my case. So I do, again, I can't read this yet. I gotta read the first 3, but I do plan on reading the Rune Lords, and it's hardcover. It's hard to say no, and I believe it's like first edition too, so that's always really cool. It is first edition, so that's like that for me. That's totally worth it. So yeah, The Layer of Bones. All right, and then one of the other books that was at that tiny table that I did pick up was Impulse by Dave Barra. This is volume 1 of the Lightship Chronicles. Again, I know nothing about this, but the cover seems kind of cool. And it's not that long of a book. It's like 340 pages, but the margins are very generous. Oh, hey, look at that. I have an extra bookmark from just exploring that. So that's another fun thing when you get used books, is that you get random stuff in them. People use as bookmarks. So that's fun. But yeah, again, I know nothing about this, so if you know anything about it, if you liked it, let me know in the comments. Now, book 16 and the last book I got from any of those library sales is Wolf's Blood by Jane Linskold. I'm sorry, Miss Jane. And again, this one just really captured my eyes. Like, that portrait is just very striking, which is that ominous guy in like crazy armor. And then it looks like just some girl and her wolf just out and about, I guess. And yeah, that was, again, this is that last book that was at that little table I snatched. And I think that was totally worth it. So yeah, again, I know nothing about it. I intend on reading it. Maybe I'll be one of the first people to review it, like you've seen. So we'll see. But yeah, Wolf's Blood by Jane Lindskold. Now these next 4 books are books that I got from a thrift store, just shopping with my wife. And the first one is called The 10,000, just The 10,000 by Michael Curtis Ford, a novel of ancient Greece. So this is historical fiction. This, I believe, is just its own. Like, I think you could just read it as is. Like, I don't think there's a book 1 to it. And it's about ancient Greece, which I think is really cool. That's one of my favorite, like, eras in history to, like, explore. Like, in middle school, I remember we did, like, ancient worlds history, and that was, like, one of my favorite classes. So yeah, this one I just feel like I had to pick up. Even if I don't read it anytime soon, I still feel like it's still fun to look at. Even the spine's not bad. So yeah. All right, the next one I got from the thrift store is Children of Amarid. I think that's how you say it, by David Coe. I think that's how you say his name. I'm sorry, Mr. David. This is book 1 of the Lon Tobin Chronicle. There's a lot of fun words in there. Part of what caught my eye is the tour, and kind of like the spine reminded me very heavily of like the Wheel of Time spines. Now I know like the Wheel of Time had like, some of them had more things going on, but it reminded me heavily of that. So that's why I picked it up, and then I kind of read more, realized it's book 1. And then of course, Anne McCaffrey is saying it's excellent. You gotta pick it up based off Anne McCaffrey's recommendation. So, and I failed to mention, but any of the books I got from the thrift store were 50 cents or less. So it was like no brainer. I could literally find that amount of change in my car door. So yeah, that's that's the second one from the thrift store. All right, now the third one from the thrift store was Star Wars Republic Commando Hard Contact by Karen Travis. This is one of those that was from Lucas Books, I believe. So it's like the extended or the expanded universe. I forget what it's called. But I think this one was geared more towards younger audience as well. So like teens or YA. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, Lucas Books. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I've always seen this book. Like, I've always seen photos of this cover, but I've never actually seen the cover or like seen the book in person. So when I saw it, I just had to have it. Even though I'm not that huge of a Star Wars fan, I just feel like anything Star Wars, especially from the era that this was released, just is a lot of nostalgia. Because even on like the inside cover, it's like you got Hayden Christensen. Like, I grew up with the prequels, so it's like I know everyone craps on the prequels, but it's like for me those were my movies, you know, especially Episode 3. That's the best of the 6 movies. Don't at me. So yeah. Anyway, Star Wars Republic Commando Hard Contact. Now, the last one I got secondhand was Pride of Lions by Morgan Lewin. Now, this is historical fiction as well, set in Ireland, and it follows, what's his name, Brian Boru, which is a historical character, I think from, like, their independence or something. I'm pretty ignorant on that. That's part of the reason I wanted to pick it up. But I didn't realize until I got home that this is a sequel to the bestseller Lions of Ireland. So if I do want to read this, which I intend on it, I just got to track down Lion of Ireland before I can read it. So, and again, something just like the cover and like seeing the Claymore for me is so fun, or so cool. Like, one of my favorite movies is Braveheart, which I know he's a Scotsman, but still, like, the Claymore is just kind of iconic, you know. So anyway, also Tor. Anything Tor, I feel like I at least have to look at. But yeah, anyway, Pride of Lions by Morgan Lewin. I'm sorry, Morgan. All right, now these last 2 books I actually got brand new. One is really cool. This is Dark Satellites by W.T. Patterson. He is a self-published author. He saw one of my TikToks and reached out to me and asked if I wanted a copy. So he was cool enough to sign it. So shout out to you, W.T. Patterson. I have yet to read this. I will plan on reading it in my June or maybe July month reading. We'll see. Got a baby on the way. Started a new job recently. The life has been hectic. So we'll see what my reading habit is. But yeah, so I've seen some mostly good reviews, but there haven't been many reviews like on Goodreads, what I'm talking about. So yeah, but shout out to you. And like I was trying to say, this is special for me because this is the first book that anyone's like just gifted me. So that's also kind of cool. So yeah, Dark Satellites by W.T. Patterson, book 21. Now, book 22 might be the one I'm most excited about, and it's actually something I paid the full price for, and that is Chalice of Gods. It's Percy Jackson in the Olympians, book number 6. As you can see, I have the original 1 through 5 on paperback, and I sort of knew that Rick Riordan was writing more with Percy Jackson, but recently Amazon had a big book sale going on, so I think I got this for like $10 when it normally retails for like 20. And I had a Amazon gift card for $10, so it was perfect. All I had to do was pay the 60 cents for sales tax. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and it's making me really urged to start a reread on Percy Jackson, and do a proper review for those. And I believe when I was picking this up, I saw that there is a scheduled 7th book that is coming out in September of this year, I believe. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, I might have to do a reread for the series. So, but yeah, that is what I got for the month of May. What do you guys think? Any winners? Any losers? Any stinkers? Any that you're really excited for me to get to and want to see me review before others? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like down below. Want to see more from me, Diggerdan? Please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification icon so you guys know when I upload each and every single time. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.